You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of Modern Musicology. I am Rob Levy. I am sitting in the captain's chair on this week to spearhead this conversation. And joining me is the world's first and greatest record rep, Stephanie Seymour.
Thank you. Hello.
I'm also joined by publishing mogul, podcaster, writer, Rush fan, the Alan Seiler. How are you, sir?
Hey, I got your concert tickets right here. $250 a pop. Anybody want anything?
And coming out of the penalty box for this episode is our good friend, Mr. JM Tuffley. How are you, sir?
Oh, so this is your window I'm breaking today. That's okay. Sorry about that.
We are all gathered once again to talk about all things music that we like. And the topic for the show tonight is tickets, because one way or another, they have frustrated the holy hell out of us, so we're going to talk about that. But first, Alan has some exciting listener feedback for us.
Yes, I do. This all pertains to our episode that we did about the Buckingham Nicks album. And my friend Paul wrote, "You guys, the podcast was so good. After a very busy and stressful day, I turned off the lights and lay down and listened, and it was so great. Engaging, insightful, so much I didn't know about Stevie and the band." Mark Lesser says, "I have always loved this album and had the vinyl way back. Before its recent digital release, somehow I had a digital copy. I love this album." And our good friend Matt Alschbach, who has been on the show a good number of times and is going to be on again next week, says, "Great episode. I had never heard the Buckingham Nicks record until yesterday. I also didn't know how the pair were brought into Fleetwood Mac. Pretty fascinating."
Cool.
So, yeah, I love it. I mean, we've told that story of at least 2 times before this, and I'm glad that this time when we told it, it reaches somebody that had never heard it before.
I know, that's
really
awesome.
cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Thanks for writing, everybody.
Yeah.
And we have a couple things to get to before the topic. And I know Alan was very keen to talk about this one as well. But we lost Ace Frehley the week that we're recording this from Kiss. And Alan, I know you're a huge fan, so this is probably a little home for you. Do you want to talk about that for us?
Yeah, I'm a big Kiss fan, but this goes way back to my early teens. Kiss was pretty much the first real band that I got into, other than like hearing, Casey and the Sunshine Band on Top 40 radio or whatever. Kiss was the first band that I really got into, started collecting, and Ace was my first rock star, as much as I loved all the guys in the band. And at that time, I was starting to really get into drumming, and I taught myself how to play drum set by listening to Peter Criss on the Love Gun album. But it was Ace that was the big deal for me. Like, there was something about his spaceman persona, because I was this weird little kid who loved sci-fi movies, and so that whole space stuff just really appealed to me. And that whole persona, plus he was kind of the quiet one. He was the weirdo. He kind of didn't seem like he would fit in with the whole rock star vibe, and just all that stuff really, really kind of attracted me to him. So I loved him, and we're going to be talking all about Ace on our next show with, as I mentioned, Matt Alschbach. He's one of the hosts of the Rock and Metal Profs podcast, and his co-host, Court Lewis, is going to be with us as well in 1 week.
That's pretty awesome.
Recovering metal person here. Kiss were the first action figure band, right? Or at least for me. I don't remember having the action figures, but it's one of the ones where you looked at as a kid and went, "Oh, I want those."
Mm-hmm.
Kiss were a lot of different things, especially, I guess, and I came in at when you get to the action figure comic book Phantom of the Park era, which probably not musically in terms of musically the best era, but the image stuff is right there. But I was always fascinated by those guys, and always enjoyed their stuff. So
Yeah, we had a neighbor across the street that was really into Kiss. If we played wiffle ball, or if I helped him wash his car, or whatever we were doing, he was playing Kiss. He would always run around and yell, "You wanted the best, you've got the best, the hottest band in the world." And everybody would look at him like, "There's no band, it's just you." So it's very sad though about Ace Frehley. I know that my entree into him is, of course, the Kiss record with him and back in the New York Groove, which I made the mistake of playing at the Limelight one night at 1 a.m, and that did not go over well, but I thought it would work. So the other thing I want to talk about this week before we jump into the main topic is we lost Dave Ball from Soft Cell. And if you look at Soft Cell, they kind of started the like two-man British pop group, right? They kind of sort of riffed on Sparks a little bit, but they had this sort of like one guy singing, talking, one guy standing around like doing nothing, but that guy's actually sort of like the heart and soul of the band. That's kind of where they were. He also did a bunch of really cool stuff under the name of The Grid, where he was doing all kinds of like techno and sort of like neo house stuff. And it was really kind of cool stuff as well. And remixed everybody from, the Chemical Brothers to Saint Etienne to all sorts of people. But he passed away this week in his sleep at 67.
Oh,
and
so young.
The day before, he did the final mixing and tracking for their new album called Danceteria.
Is it? Are you serious? It's called Danceteria?
Yeah, it's a homage to the Danceteria Club of the 1980s.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
Everyone take 2 shots right now.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I cannot wait to hear it. Oh, that's so sad though.
I know, but it's very sad, and it's like when you think of like the 80s and the dawn of synth pop, looking back at this through time now, Soft Cell is sort of one of those bands that kind of got there because they sounded, synthesizer-y and stuff, but they had horns and melodies, and it wasn't as very robotic or sort of space age as you got with like the Human League or Heaven 17. You got a little more melody and stuff in it. So he's kind of the heart and soul of that band and kind of a sound architect as well. And also he did the graphics and the design for the albums and the album sleeve art too. He sort of oversaw all of that. So those are our 2 big people that we've lost this week. It's very, very sad.
Yeah.
So, but I want to jump into our main topic. And one of the reasons we have Mr. Tuffley here is because he has gone to more concerts than I think anyone else I know this year. And we actually have had several conversations about ticketing in the recent weeks. But this has kind of been in the news for a while because during the pandemic, we kept hearing how the record industry and venues and everybody was going to get crushed and they were losing money. And then bands were going to tour again, but it's going to cost a lot of money. And now we're hearing, it costs a lot of money for bands to tour, so they're shortening their tours. And sort of what subsequently happened with this is that magically the pricing of tickets has gone from being reasonable to like, you got to be effing kidding me. And it's out of control. So I guess the first question is sort of, why do you guys think tickets are so expensive right now?
Okay, first of all, I want to say that ticket prices have been, you got to be fucking kidding me, for a long time.
Yeah.
It is not just post-pandemic because there have been like Madonna's tours have been in the hundreds of dollars 15 years ago. And I think that it's just COVID was an excuse to double down on it.
That was kind of what I was thinking about, the double downing. I mean, I never thought that paying $100 for a ticket was awful if that was the cap, but depending also who the artist was. But I also think that it's really gotten insane. Probably the last 5-10 years is probably when it's really sort of gotten nuts. I think you're right, though. It did start before that.
Oh yeah.
I think the whole volume pricing thing is weird. Well, yes, because it used to be, and I don't know, I don't want to out anybody on their ages, but I remember before you went to go camp out at the Parisian to go buy your tickets, or Dillard's, or insert regional department store here. When you camped out in the cold in front of the mall store to go buy your tickets physically, you knew how much money you to take with you or how much was going on your credit card when you left. That's like the biggest problem with this. And I think the citing is like, some of it's like scalping and people leaving, artists and venues leaving money on the table and whatever. And maybe that could be, but I think it's also sort of, it would be nice to at least know how much the face value of the tickets are going to be before you hop in line and get it. I know there's a whole psychology thing of, oh, well, you're in line now, you might as well do it.
That whole dynamic pricing thing is such utter bullshit.
Yes.
And the fact that they don't announce a ticket price before they go on sale is insane. Why? I basically don't go to shows anymore because I hate the entire system and I don't understand why people support this.
I'm with you, Alan. I'm like, I kind of, sorry, tough, but I just feel the same way. Like I barely go to shows we barely go to shows anymore either because of that. And I also agree with your point, Alan, that it did start way before the pandemic because we were having problems. Neil Young show, like way back. I'll tell you a story later on about how Bob got up and was yelling to people to shut the hell up because of being, you pay all this money, you go to shows and people are, yapping around you. But so anyway, I just remember it's been a long time. It's been a long time since there have been outrages.
I think there are a couple of theories about this, right? So it's sort of like there's the scalping thing, but there's also, I think, what is the story about the thing I was looking at about promoters and artists and venues prefer steady sales of tickets as opposed to immediately selling venues out because that means you haven't booked the right venue for it.
Oh.
You're not adequately providing the demand, and the volume pricing is supposed to, quote, control scalping and also keep sales demand at a steady level so that people through the life cycle of the event are supposed to be able to get tickets if they want them. So it's supposed to keep the supply out there.
But I don't think that were.
But also they control the secondary market. So what does that mean?
Yeah.
I think if I remember rightly, the first big tour that Ticketmaster implemented the dynamic pricing thing was a Springsteen tour. And this goes back about 5 years. And people were livid because they got in line and they paid hundreds of dollars. And then as you got closer to the date and there are still seats left, the price tapers off. Yeah. You can get, and I think the whole thing is just a big excuse. I don't care what excuse they give us. I don't believe any of it. It's just a grab. It's not the artists, it's the venue and the promoters.
For me, like you guys are all sort of in major markets, but like for us, we have to go to like Chicago a lot of times for shows. Mm-hmm. And when they do this type of pricing, they really hurt people that have to go and travel to the show. Mm-hmm. So if you're like in Indiana and you have to go to Chicago, or if you're in Nebraska and you have to go to like a larger market, or, if you're in the Pacific Northwest and you have to go to Portland or Seattle, right? You're really hurting those people because you have to get a hotel and you have to get travel and all that stuff, right? So now the pricing has gone such that you are not only giving a kidney, you're giving a kidney and a lung.
Yep.
And they're flying it in for you. It's just absolutely obscene. And I went and saw a band the other night called Audacre. And it played at one of our medium-sized venues here. And it sold out like within an hour. And it said sold out, sold out, sold out. And then the secondary markets tickets were going for like $150 to $200. And then, like Alan kind of alluded to, the secondary market was going crazy with this. But then as we got closer to the show, tickets are opening up, and suddenly tickets are like $45 or $40. And then the day of the show, people were saying, yes, we do have tickets. It's not sold out. And it ended up being sold out. But it was like, man, I am really glad I did not have to mess with that, because if I would have paid secondary market pricing for that and then found out I could get a ticket at the door for $18, I would have been absolutely friggin' out of my head.
But here's the thing. Not only that, but anymore, major tours go on sale at least a year before the actual concert date. Anything can happen in a year. And half the shows end up getting canceled or rescheduled or whatever. And you get your ticket price back, but you don't necessarily get your flight cost or your hotel cost or any of that stuff. And, there have been stories of people traveling to a city and the day of get canceled. I mean,
I believe that happened. Like someone was on the news because they flew to another country to see, and that happened. It's like,
Yeah.
what do you? I know.
I've heard of people telling stories about that last ELO show that got
Oh,
canceled.
Yeah.
yeah.
And that is the last ELO show that got canceled.
I mean-
and people specifically flew to London for Hyde Park, and
Yeah.
it was canceled like I want to say about 45 minutes before they were supposed to go on. So
Oh, God.
right. And I mean, here's the thing. I understand why shows get canceled. And a lot of times it's artist health or,
Right,
kind of, and unforeseen circumstances or weather or whatever. And you can't necessarily help a cancellation. But when you increase the likelihood of something going wrong by selling these things a year or more ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't buy tickets more than 6 months in advance. And I always have a backup plan. Like if I'm going to go to a city to see a show, it's like I'll go to Atlanta or Chicago first because I know people I can visit, or I know there's other stuff I can do if I'm stuck with going,
Yeah.
yeah.
But the other thing that drives me nuts, and Alan talked about where you're in line and you're waiting and you see the sticker price and you're like, oh my God, some places don't even tell you what the handling fees are until you check out. And that makes me like pissed on top of being pissed.
Well,
Dude,
not
the handling of fees infuriate me because
I know. What are they handling? What are they handling? Nothing, and so taxes, handling, whatever, you're paying you're paying what a ticket should cost. Just
Yes.
Yeah. And, I'm lucky that we have venues here still do where you can go to the box office the day of the show and buy tickets,
Mhm.
right? But you don't pay the handling fees. It's still too much money, but at least I'm not paying
Yeah.
But I miss going to the grocery store or record store or department store to get the tickets because you had that communal experience
I know.
of buying tickets and you didn't feel like you were at war with some guy in a waiting room that you don't know to get tickets to go see, Jackson Brown or Slade or, whoever, right?
Like you were physically there. It wasn't like you're in some digital nowhere land, and I mean, like Tuffley was saying before, just the fact, like, go camping out wherever you camp out. I mean, I used to go to Tower Records. I remember being in, sneaking out of my house like 3 a.m. waiting for tickets. I knew they were going to be like $15. I know that I'm really aging myself, but you knew that's what you were going to pay. And, you had that money when you were young.
the first concert I ever went to, since we were talking about Ace Frehley earlier, was Kiss in 1979. $7.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just as a comparison, you went to the reunion tour, right?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Because I was going to do the comparison between what you paid for that tour and then the reunion tour. Because
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going
I
to,
remember they were about $50 for me.
Mhm.
So
you're going to account for inflation, obviously. But my first ticket was like when camping out at Tower Records for the Police at the Garden. And it was 12. I have it on my ticket stub because I keep them all. It's $12.50, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My tickets to Simple Minds and The Call on the Once Upon a Time tour were $19.50.
Yeah. Yeah.
For like the mid-tier seats. And then I was going through stubs a couple weeks ago and my tickets to see Nirvana at Mississippi Nights, which is like our big
Oh, yeah.
venue back in the day, $12.50.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
With the Afghan wigs. Right.
Nice.
It's like, first of all, where are these times? God, I miss them.
I know.
And I love the idea of like waiting for tickets with another human being because you can have conversations like, oh, this is, Kiss was my first concert and this is what they meant to me. And that kind of enriches the overall experience of going.
Mhm.
And, it's always like, you end up making friends or you're hanging out and you just feel like you're in the trenches with something. And I think it's still commerce, right? And it's still very overpriced, but at least you're in it with someone. And now you go online, you're in a room, you may have your phone and your laptop and your desktop all trying to get on like 4 different
Browsers
cities
open.
to get the tickets. And it's like, you should not, one, have to go broke buying a ticket. You should not have to have like anxiety and have to, start popping Vicodin because you're trying to get the tickets. And you shouldn't be surprised when you get the friggin' tickets that you are now going to live on Social Security. right?
Yeah.
It's just absolutely mind numbing. And Alan, you touched on this earlier, so I thought we'd jump on this. You said the artists aren't to blame. It's the venues and booking and things like that. I tend to think now we are seeing more and more artists take charge of what's going on with the ticketing, like The Cure and Oasis and the Indigo Girls, and certain bands are like starting to step in on like their ticketing thing, which we hadn't seen in a while. Where do you think the blame is? Is it more scalpers than the venues, or is it more the people planning the tours, or is it?
No, I don't think it has anything to do with scalpers.
Yeah,
not at all. I think Ticketmaster is just an evil corporation.
Yeah,
that's the bottom line for me. Ticketmaster is evil. Let's get a representative from Ticketmaster on our show sometime, and let's just ask them why this stuff is the way it is.
Yeah.
Well, I think the other thing that, well, it doesn't help, but there is, at least I know, Alan, in our market, there's some competition because Access sells tickets for a lot of events as well around here. So it's not exactly better, but at least it's competition.
Yeah, we've got Live Nation and we've got Ticketmaster and then individual small venues. Chicago's got Access, Ticketmaster, Live Nation, Jams. Like they got like 5 or 6 different things, right? And some of them you can cross by. Like you can go to the Ticketmaster, and I'm like, oh, that's nice, because then you can see what the fees are, right? But no matter what, it's not a free market, which is the thing that really bothers me. And when I look at this and like, oh, some people are like, well, I can't believe, this band is charging this much or this, and they're not stepping in. Sometimes I think they maybe they don't know how bad it is until somebody tells them. And by the time they find out, it's probably too late. They may not have contractually any way to control any leverage with that. Yeah. And then the other thing too is that I just think that so many of these venues are sort of trapped by these big corporations. Like, well, if you don't want to get them to your club, I'll take them down the street, or I'll take them here or there. So I do think it does pretty much lie on the big corporate guys who are setting the pricing.
That's what it is. I mean, it's like, look what's happening to this world in general, and then you can just extrapolate that's what's happening here. But
I do think too, the scalpers sort of speed the whole process up, because everybody's like, oh, I'm not going to get tickets waiting in this room for 15 minutes. I'm going to go to a scalper. And then by buying a ticket from a scalper, it's suddenly now more it feeds the machine more, which I really hate the idea of.
Yeah, maybe, but I don't think that, scalpers are a secondary thing.
Yeah.
It's not the primary driver of ticket prices.
I am glad that we have so many different ticket places to buy secondary market tickets. I generally, like, even with Ticketmaster having the secondary market tickets, I don't usually buy them from there. I'll go to like other outlets and look and see what I can get. And I'm thankful for those. But even those, the handling fees are obnoxious. Mm. And sometimes I can see the fingerprints of like the larger corporations in that market as well. So now they're getting their hands in the secondary market and the regular market. And that also makes me just really pissed.
On a similar but different annoyance, I guess, in buying tickets from a smaller venue, I've noticed this thing now where they have, like, you can get tickets for, just say, like, this Brooklyn venue that we go to, that you have to have an app now to get the tickets. It's not the club itself, is what I'm trying to say. It's some business that they've used as a third party now to sell their tickets. And that's annoying as fuck too. I don't want your stupid app. I don't need another app, and I don't need the app fee or whatever. So it's just like one more bullshit thing.
Right.
We have
to call the club and get a ticket. Sorry, go ahead.
And I am a grown adult. I can keep track of where my tickets are for a year. It brings it out on paper.
Yeah.
But even if you're not, that's your fault.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't need an app company to enforce me having a way to order. Plus, if you've got different apps for different tickets, that's going to confuse me even more.
That's what happened to us. Yeah.
So, Stephanie, you and Bob had a show a week or so ago.
Yeah.
How much did you overcharge for tickets? And did you like price bust?
I started an app. No.
Or your Scrooge McDuck vault is just out of shot. Is that what you're telling us?
Yeah.
This is why we stick to playing local shows. This was a show that played at 503 Social Club that our friend runs. He has art exhibits there and he has bands play there. And it's like a beautiful little oasis in the middle of Hoboken. And he charges, $15, $20 at the door. And that's that. That's what you pay. Everyone knows it, and we get a cut of the door. And that's that.
I like shows at small venues.
Yes.
And and I've gotten to where I don't really see that much in the way of national touring groups, even if they're playing at small clubs. I just go and see local bands.
Yes, that's what I was totally going to say. Me too.
Right. And I find that experience to be almost better than having to, especially having to go to like a big venue. I'm kind of at the age where I'm kind of over big venues.
Yeah.
It takes a lot for me to go to a huge venue for shows.
Me too. Having said all this we're saying about large shows, I mean, it's very rare that we'll go anymore because of all this, but also like I was saying, to tell you the little quick story, we went to see
Neil Young.
Why can't I ever remember this guy's name? It's Neil Young. Hello. The opening act was playing. These people were talking behind us the whole time. Bob told them, please be quiet. They were for about 2 seconds. Neil Young comes on. He's playing like the most mellow song ever. And these guys have been chatting the whole time. People are like beside themselves. Bob stands up and he's like, shut the fuck up. And they just stopped and they left. But good. Like, after that, we're just never paying, $500 total to go see a show again. Because nobody cares.
Right. And my partner knows this very well because he, gets on his computer when things go on sale. Sometimes it's hotel rooms for big conventions like Dragon Con. Sometimes it's concert tickets like when we saw Taylor Swift a couple of years ago. And that whole thing of like, you're in line, you're quote unquote in line for the tickets. And you're like, you are number 3080, and you don't know, there's no physical line. You don't know exactly what's happening or how it progresses. And then your browser will freeze or the server goes down or whatever. And and you're sitting by yourself in your room and you're just under all this stress about whether you're going to get this thing or not. When I first started going to concerts, I would go to Specs Music and I would buy my tickets. I'd be in line with human beings and we would get tickets. And when I started working for Specs Music after that, we basically had a book of tickets and you would have like a physical thing and you would give it to people. Then I was working at Specs when I don't remember what the company was, but it was the precursor to Ticketmaster. And they put in the very first computerized ticket sales system. And it was fucking awful. And I was sitting there, I'll be there working the desk and I'd be at the computer and you're waiting for a certain time. These tickets are going to go on sale at a certain time. And inevitably, the computer would crash. As soon as you click the first ticket, it would crash. And oh my God. And these people in line would get so mad at you. And you're like, it's not me.
Yeah. That digital waiting room thing is just, not only are you stressed out about like, am I going to get a ticket or whatever, and how much are they going to be? But it's like, you've just let like 2 hours of your day is gone and you're never going to get that back either.
Right. If it's a work day, you still got to do your job while you're doing this too.
You feel like it's like you're in a different instance of World of Warcraft where it's just like, there is a line, but then there's like 5 other lines that are on different servers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That maybe you're the 4th in this one.
Right.
But then you're not, but you're the 17,000 person according to the other server.
Yes.
Right. And the other thing that makes me feel like horribly ungrateful, about the whole experience is they put the timer on the tickets.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like, come on.
Right.
Let me look around and pick my damn tickets. All right. I've been waiting for 3 fucking hours. Let me pick my tickets. Right.
I know.
I feel like they're piling on. And then when you see the timer,
I know you get like, oh my God, okay, don't hit the
Well, that's part of the psychology, right? Because it's like
the psychology driving me nuts.
you're there, the timer's ticking down. Your role, you've just seen how much the tickets actually are. So you're like, okay, let me see if I can move a car payment. You're trying to do this in like the 7-minute countdown.
No, it's not only that. It's okay. Now I know how much the tickets cost. Now I have to text all of my friends that are going with me to see if any of them don't want to go because the tickets are $8,000.
And you have 3 minutes to do it.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we should have said at the beginning of this show, hey, folks, we're just ticket customers. We don't work in the industry. This is nothing but a bitch fest. This is going to be completely cathartic for us because we are going to gripe our heads off about the ticket systems.
It's kind of what I was expecting it to be. So I'm very happy. Some of this stems too from personal experience. You know, we saw not this most recent one, but the Depeche Mode tour before this one. And we went to the United Center. We sat like the 4th row from the top. A friend of ours got the tickets, you know, and it's like the United Center, everybody's got their like pro sports arena where the sound is terrible. It's awful. And it was just kind of like, I'm not doing this again. Right. And then we're looking around at this tour and I'm like, and then I look at the pricing. I'm like, no, I'm good. You know, I'll either try to get them some way or like just see. And I ended up with the last Depeche Mode tour finding a couple really great shot in 4K things on YouTube that fans took. And I got to watch the whole show. And now, you know, I can't even imagine if I'm somebody that spent $520 for tickets to be able to go to the movie theater in a week and spend $20 and go see them.
Yeah.
On a concert screen with like, oh, look, I can control my environment. And I get the experience I would have had waiting for the tickets because I'm going to be hanging around other fans and things like that. So it's just, it leaves a horrible taste, I think, in everybody's mouth, no matter what level of fan you are.
It's interesting, Alan, too. You just said something that triggered the whole thing of, you know, yeah, we're just 4 regular people who, whatever. I mean, it was very shocking when I was not working in the industry anymore to have to pay for my tickets, right? Because, and you too, Rob, obviously, right? Rob is in the same situation. But, yeah, I mean, for what, like 17 years or 18 years, I was, you know, getting free tickets most of the time because either I'd have them from my label or some other label we trade or whatever. You know, you could generally get on the list or whatever. But yeah. And even when I got out, though, in the early 2000s from the record business, you know, tickets were they were expensive, but I don't think they were like completely outrageous at that point, you know, and it's just as
I think it depends on who it is you're seeing.
Yeah.
Just I saw Madonna in the very early 2000s. I don't remember which tour it was, but it was early 2000s. And I went because a friend of mine worked for Coca-Cola in corporate, and they had like a box at whatever our big arena was at the time. And she got tickets like given to her. Like they had tickets available as she won the opportunity to go, and she took me with her. I would never have seen Madonna. Those tickets were $400. And that was 25 years ago.
Wow.
And I mean, but again, her show was huge, you know, so I can kind of understand how expensive it would be to transport a show of that size, but still.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a level of understanding of what the artist has to do and things like that. But at the same time, it's also, you know, don't gouge me.
I think this whole because I don't know if you're going to come up to the Shirley Manson thing that you were going to talk about. It's the same thing with with movies now. So there's like the big tentpole films, and that's all they make now, and no more comedy and no more rom-coms. It kind of feels like the big stadium arena bands or the arena level bands are sort of canceling out the mid-tier bands or the bands that are just starting. Because I think that goes to what kind of Shirley Manson's talking about. Because Garbage has never really been like the big arena headlining band. In that situation, they're always one of the support bands. But they'll do their own sort of short headlining stint around in smaller venues or sheds. And it's that level of band and that level of the middle ground.
Yeah.
It's that level of band that are kind of getting squeezed out.
Mm-hmm.
Which is
right. They're not like Oasis coming back for some super tour,
Yeah.
but they're not like a small club band. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's interesting too is that opening bands have almost, I mean, if you're an up and coming band, it's hard to get a support position on a big tour now because it's all packages. It's all legacy bands who are from either like 70s, 80s, or 90s that are all touring together on different tiers. And you've got Toad the Wet Sprocket and Sixpence None the Richer and whoever else, but you're not getting the newer bands, the upcoming bands, the bands that have just got signed to a label. You know, you don't get that stuff anymore.
Yeah, or if you want to see them, you have to go to a festival and sit through a bunch of bands you don't want to see. Right.
Yeah,
Or God forbid, porta potties. Those aren't good.
Yeah, they're not good.
Yeah. Yes. See our previous podcast on Lollapalooza. I think too, you know, the other thing, you know, is these folks, when they sell tickets, aren't looking at the economics of the world while they're selling tickets. It's like it doesn't exist. It's absolutely mind numbing.
It's also hard to predict the economy of the future a year in advance.
No, they aren't looking at the economy because you know why? Because people buy the fucking tickets.
Mm.
The solution to this is to stop buying those fucking tickets. And I know you don't want to penalize Paul McCartney or whatever, but at the same time, you're sick of being gouged by these asshole companies. And the solution to that is to stop buying the tickets.
Yeah.
And force them to price more manageably and more reasonably. And these artists that are going on tour, I know it's going to hurt them, and that really sucks. But at the same time, and I'm just completely naive about this.
I know.
And it's supply and demand. If you stop demanding it, they'll have to change the supply.
Here's what I don't get.
Oh, go ahead, Steph.
If The Cure can do that, how can like no other artist do that or whatever? How, you know, can they?
I imagine, and this is just a guess, I imagine because especially in the US, The Cure hadn't toured in the US outside of festivals for like what, 14 years?
Yeah.
That's leverage. You go to Ticketmaster and you go, hey, we want to tour for the first time in 14 years. Let me tell you how much the ticket prices are going to be.
Yeah.
And if you don't want that, okay, we go somewhere else.
We saw this with Radiohead. We saw this with Eddie Vedder and Pearl Jam too, like them putting down their feet with the planting their flag on this. I think the other thing too is that's really interesting is that these bands sort of are showing a commitment to the music experience. Like they're like, look, you know, like when Robert Smith was talking about this, he's like, and not only are you going to not charge people for this, and this, you're not going to jack up your parking to compensate. And you're starting to see more and more people sort of think about that. And there's all, you know, I hate to see the artist get hurt too, but then I start thinking, how are other ways I can support the artist? I can buy their music off of Bandcamp. I can buy merch. I know, Tuffley, you do this a lot, but I try to buy the records from the website of the bands as much as possible. Even if it's a small indie band, I still want to buy it from them because, like, Steph, you might be able to speak from this too, because then if someone buys your album, either digital or not, you're like, somebody bought my album, you know? And that is a connection you have with a listener in the digital age. And I just think that,
cool. You get cool things like notes from band members when they're packing the orders, which is cool.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
I always write it. If someone buys my CD, I always write a note to them. I mean, not that, who am I, but whatever. I mean, you know,
You're Stephanie fucking Seymour. That's who you are.
Yeah.
But you're right, Rob, because if someone buys especially from the website or whatever you're saying of the band or Bandcamp, that's different than buying my CD from like Apple or something who's going to get more of the money than me, you know? So it's like, Bandcamp's a good one.
And some of these artists are getting really smart now, and you can buy tickets from their website. You like click on this video you want to buy. And I think though that's kind of where this might be going. So if you want to buy tickets in another way, you know, check secondary markets, make sure they're not attached to any of these scumbags. You can wait till closer to the show when they release tickets and buy them from, you know, somebody out front who's like can't go or whatever. Mm-hmm. But there are other ways to support theirs. And I don't feel like I absolutely have to see this band like I used to feel with so many bands anymore. So I've sort of pivoted in how I can support them. And that's websites, merch. Yeah, that's sort of the way to do it. But do you guys have ways outside of not going or like avoiding dealing with giant corporate slugs, how you want to get your tickets? I mean, or do you just sort of like do you say, oh, it's a Ticketmaster show, I'm just not going?
I mean, for I generally we might go to, you know, one or two big
Yeah.
shows a year, if that. I'm happy going to see my friends or, you know, people who are on the local scene. That is perfectly what, you know, it's a nice mellow night or whatever. Or like there's certain people we pay for and see every single time they come around, like Amy Mann or Mike Viola, somebody like that, who like they're playing like a Tarrytown Music Theater, which is a beautiful, smallish venue, you know, so however many hundreds of people fit in there, but it's like still local, you know, it's still local and they're still doing those guys are doing their own thing by themselves or not with a giant record company. And so stuff like that. That's how I generally work it.
Tuffley, you got any thoughts on this? Because I know you know when you're buying tickets really well.
Okay, so my levels of coping. First of all, when you see a show announced, think about whether you really want to see that band. Which list is that band on? Is that band on the list? Is that band on your bucket list? Or is that band in the, it would be really nice if they were here with somebody else. If they're on that list, maybe they can wait. You know, and again, that also goes to, you know, be patient. There are tickets that, again, because if they're talking about we're going to keep the sales going for the duration of the life cycle of the event, there are going to be tickets that open up later. And, you know, people are going to forget that you didn't get the tickets and they're not available now. So you can jump on that. Also, and this goes to what Allison and what Alan, what Stephanie was talking about. I mean, I used to feel really guilty about accepting the corpo tickets from work, but if you can, and if they're really good, take them. I mean, no shame. I used to feel bad about it. Because the other thing is, especially with the corporate tickets where they buy, especially the larger corporations that buy sponsorships in arenas, right? Those tickets those seats are still there. They're going to be empty if they don't give them away. So if
they're already paid for. Yeah.
Like if you get the company raffle and you win, like don't feel bad about it. Just go. The other thing I can suggest is, and this is going to sound weird, but sometimes you enter like contests for things, and then you get emails with ticket sales for that artist that say, "Oh, hey, you didn't win the contest, but we'll give you a discount on these tickets."
Yeah.
Oh.
So sometimes you can do that, but again, how much you want to give up, it's the same like with social media, like how much personal information you want to give up, whatever. That's up to you. That's your choice. But you know, there are a couple of ways you can cope and kind of scope out. Also, I mean, I think people were talking about this. 3 of us on this call are in a major media market, or a major market that has plenty of venues, and expansive venues that you can kind of pick and choose. So if Pearl Jam lugs their ticket prices too much and you don't want to go, you can go see somebody else for $15 down the street.
Yeah.
Night. Or you get really lucky and Pearl Jam is across the street from like Kendrick Lamar and SZA, and those nosebleeds tickets are going super cheap. You can get those. So that's great if you're in an area that, you know, you can pick and choose and go, oh, hey, well, I couldn't see this act this night, but I can go somewhere else if I really want to go see something and be good. Not so much if it's the only game in town, but again, if you live in college towns, there's a lot of different venues that pop up. Or if you're adjacent to colleges, their smaller venues are good too. So there are ways.
Yeah. The other thing too is, you know, if you go to your local indie record store or maybe your local college radio station, they will have tickets to give away too. And you can win tickets that way. I mean, a lot of this is like just sort of kind of knowing your surroundings, right? And some of it, you know, too, what drives my decisions is, am I going to see this band in a small venue again? Like I saw Japanese Breakfast a couple of weeks ago in a small club, and I'm like, she's not going to play venues like this much longer. So I'm not going to go when she starts playing if she starts playing arenas. So I prefer to see them in a medium-sized venues. I'm totally with you with not going to giant, huge venues. I have a friend that wanted to see Nine Inch Nails on this tour, and she ended up flying from Chicago to Dublin because the venue, the theater was more intimate and the dates worked and everything. But the airfare, the tickets, and staying over 2 days with her friend who lives in Dublin was cheaper than buying really great tickets
Oh my
to see them in
God.
Chicago,
Oh God.
because that's how screwed up the system is over here.
Wow.
You know, it also depends too, you know, if you're not flying on a weekend and stuff as well. But I think the other thing too is, you know, you told me that once, Tuffley, about like, how bad do you want to go? And I always think about that because, you know, it's sometimes you get a choice where you just like, man, I can go see everything. And you just like, you can't, just pick your spots. Right. I would love to have seen Pulp on this tour. I would have like just loved it, but I'm like, they're not coming anywhere near where I was going to go. And I'm not paying to see them at a festival. So
I was trying to have you in my house. I was trying to put you up.
I know, but it also was like money. I know. I want to stay with common people like you.
I was going to chauffeur. I was going to wear this hat and drive you to the freaking show.
No. But I think that there are ways around it. And sort of look, because Alan, the biggest point I think that Alan has made is that you, as a consumer, still have a certain amount of power and leverage. And at the end of the day, they're still going to sell 20,000 tickets, but they're going to want to sell 40,000, and they're going to notice something's going on.
I just feel like there's always going to be someone filling the void. I don't know, unfortunately. I just don't think people are, I don't know, maybe unless, everyone just gives up at once and goes broke. I don't really know how it's ever going to stop.
My fear is just we go back to like the regional, everybody's just regional Enormo Dome shows,
Yeah.
Like every band is just going to group up and it's going to be all festivals in like 5 different cities in the country. And that's your concerts.
Ugh.
That's sort of the fear though.
Yeah,
that's kind of what a lot of people are doing. I know a lot of people that they go to Coachella, they go to Lollapalooza, they go to Pitchfork, and one other one like Bonnaroo, or they'll go see something else, or the one in Coney Island or whatever. And that's all their shows.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to go to a festival because if I want to see a band and I'm paying that kind of money, I don't want to see a 45-minute set or an hour set. I want the full set.
Yeah.
And
also, I don't want all those people.
And
people and people, mostly people.
Yeah.
And heat.
Mostly other people.
Yeah.
Porta potties.
Now, Steph, I wanted to ask you this, and I realize that you've been sort of out of this on this level for a while, but when you were touring with the Aquanettas and you played with Small Club, did you at the end of the night just go back into an office and like get handed a lot of cash? Like, here's your take for the night. Or did they just wire the money in your account? Or like,
No, they paid us every night. Like, because we had a booking agent, right? Like FDR was our agent. So they negotiated the what you're getting. So you have a guarantee.
Okay.
So every town was different, but like, you basically have a guarantee. So you collect your money at the end of the night.
So then as an artist, whether they sold like 50 tickets or 100,000 tickets,
right,
you still got that same guarantee.
Got a guarantee.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the things I did not know about is like how much of the artist impact if like these corporate guys don't sell tickets. Because they try to make it out like, oh, the artist won't get paid if you don't buy the ticket. And I'm like, no.
No, I mean, and that was then. I'm sure it's still the same. It's not, you're not going to go on some countrywide tour without knowing you're going to get at least something, Yeah.
So as we wind down, because we are close on time, and honestly, we'll all probably in some way, shape, or form have an aneurysm. Is there a way the system can be changed, or is this just something that we're just going to have to throw our arms up and just scream and yell and go in a corner and pout?
The latter?
Yeah.
Yeah, it isn't going to change unless it's forced to change.
Mm-hmm.
I think unless, and again, this is going to take larger bands to like say, okay, well, here's what we want. Can you, enormous ticket company, provide the thing that we want because we're doing this? We're going to let you do this. And if you can't do this, we will go to the other company that doesn't have as many venues, the smaller, and we'll just do it with that. And, maybe if enough bands do that, maybe enough of the larger bands do that, that sort of changes the paradigm on how that's affected. But that's going to depend. And also the other thing I wanted to point out is the situation where I don't want a whole lot of like Black Keys situations where you just, because you feel like you have to book these larger venues, that bands will book themselves into a hole where they have to play these larger venues, but they can't sell them. So hopefully we don't get to that either, because it seems like it's an arms race.
That's a great point. And I think too, does opening it up and having more companies, like make that market not just 2 or 3, but like 15 or 20, does that help it or not? I'm not sure it does, because I think it's, instead of having 10 greedy people, you got 30.
Yeah, I think it's like a top-down thing, like, Tuffley is saying. And I think it's just if it's ever going to change, I think it would have to be from the top down, from the biggest bands down. I don't think little bands have enough collateral to affect that change.
Yeah.
Hey, everyone. Before we conclude our show, I just wanted to drop in a really quick update on this situation. So the conversation that you just heard, we recorded on the evening of October 26th. The next morning, pre-sales for an upcoming Atlanta Rush concert went on sale. So my partner and I tried to get tickets just out of curiosity. I really didn't think that I would end up going, because I've seen how much tickets cost in other cities, but I was just curious. So we did the login on the ticket platform, and we were almost the 10,000th person in line. When we finally got to the point where we were able to buy tickets, and of course we didn't know how much they were going to be beforehand, but when we finally got to that point and were able to select seats, we selected seats in 3 different sections. The prices were like $250, $350, and almost $450. And there were still closer tickets we could have selected. So I don't know how much those were, but at that point I was like, nope. So I just wanted to drop that little bit of information in as part of a wrap up of our conversation. So we're going to take a little break here with a quick ad, and then we'll be back to close our show. So stick around.
What is the Flopcast? Is it just a weird podcast about cartoons, music, TV, comic books, movies, chickens, and stuff from the 70s and 80s you thought nobody but you remembered? Yes. Will it be the dumbest half hour of your week? Probably. The Flopcast. We will waste your time.
So that was our lovely and heated and collective gestalt about the prices of tickets. Thank you so much for tuning into Modern Musicology for this week. And we are going to be back next week, and please tune in. And Alan, where can people find you?
CosmicCreative.com, KOZMIC Creative.com.
And Steph, where can people find you or your music or all the other cool things you're doing?
Okay, you can find me on Facebook at Stephanie Seymour Music. You can find me on Instagram at there_r_birds. I have a website, therearebirds.com, and you can find me on Bandcamp under my name and Spotify and all the streaming platforms.
And you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Blue Sky. And if you go to those places, you can find the different outlets for radio stuff I'm up to and things. And Mr. Tuffley, where can folks find you?
I say dumb things on the internet under my own name on most social media sites. That is a mistake I've been paying for 20 years. I also do playlists, many dear God playlists on Spotify, including Randomizer, which is doing the spooky Halloween stuff right now. We'll get back to normal service shortly with new music for at least a couple more editions for the year. Some interesting stuff coming down the pike, so look for that. And also, occasionally the needcoffee.com Weekend Justice podcast, which that guy, you, Rob, show up to when it reappears from its dimensional problems. So enjoy that when it happens.
And, Alan, at the top of the show, read listener feedback. And if we have struck a nerve with you or you'd like to comment on this show, Alan, where can people leave feedback for us about any of our shows or any of the things that we're doing?
You can email us at modernmusicology1@gmail.com or leave a comment on any of our social media posts. Or if you're listening on Spotify or iTunes or one of those streaming platforms, leave a comment there and we will get it.
And thank you, everybody, for being patient with us as we have our therapy session. Thank you for doing us the service of listening, and have a great week.
has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping for the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.